Good Tag. And Rabbi Jan Rebbitzin Fink, congratulations. Before I begin, I have a question. Why didn't Hashem just make everyone Jewish right from the start? Why go to all this trouble? Next thing we know, we've got a flood, we're wandering, there's idol worship, rebellions, intermarriage, and now, mixed dancing. In honor of September 11th, tonight's theme is about moments that changed lives. While I don't have a moment as harrowing as the thousands of moments that came and went that day, even my quiet life had a moment that changed me, but I'll get to that. I am Scott Wright, not Reich. Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T. I am married to Hetty Gold, actually for 25 years on the 28th. She's sitting right there. Happy anniversary. I love you. Not every girl could take the risks you took and live with the results as long as you have. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm a convert, a stranger among us, according to some of our commentators. But I've been called worse, and that doesn't even include my family. None of this is an excuse for not coming to shul regularly. That comes from a deeper fault within me, but that's a different speech. I am drawn to ritual, and I believe part of what makes us different from our pets is faith. Maybe these beliefs helped me convert. In my sophomore year in college, I took a comparative religion course and was introduced to Judaism, at least from a scholastic angle. I met my first Jews. I dated my first, but not my last Jewish girlfriend. Honey, it is true. And over time, imperceptibly, I got more and more curious about being Jewish. I converted Reform in 1976, but going for the gold took an epiphany. About 30 years ago, at a time I was just test driving this observance stuff, on a Shabbat in the Lincoln Square Beginner's Minyan with Effie Buchwald, we read these lines from Parshat Peshalach. Hashem went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead them on the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light so they could travel by day and night. My arm hair stood up. I felt something shift. Tears are easy for me, and I tried to hold them back. For the first time, I knew I could become Shomer Shabbat, despite my doubts and the challenges it would bring for me at work and for my family. Why would a constant pillar of cloud and one of fire turn my skeptical faith into an observant one? I believe they said to me that my journey would not be unguarded. Maybe this is why I stepped off into this new life. I don't understand much more than that, but I do know that a generation later, our son Ellis read the same words for his Bar Mitzvah Parsha. I assumed Hashem was still sending me his message. I am still learning to listen. So let me tell you another story. When I was married the first time, I lived with my ex-in-laws at 1142 East 4th Street in Brooklyn. I used to walk down Bay Parkway to the F train every morning and back every night. There was a large house on the opposite side of Bay Parkway that I noticed had a ton of kids playing outside all the time. I knew they were observant from the way they dressed, the long skirts and the flying tzitzis. A decade or so later, before Hetty and I got married, we drove one evening from Lincoln Towers to Brooklyn to meet her family at some affair. They all blend together now, believe me. A lot of black and white clothing and brown food. Anyway, we came down Ocean Parkway and exited at that little right turn just before Avenue J. As we turned, everything came into focus. We pulled up to the same house I had seen years before, the house of my future brother-in-law. Those kids are my grown-up nieces and nephews now. My life is richer with even more black and white clothing and the best brown food anywhere. Myron, you know what I mean. I gave up trying to figure this stuff out years ago. I didn't take my journey alone. I doubt any convert does. But Hashem wasn't my only companion. Conversion is an audience participation activity. My parents, my sisters, my in-laws, and my sons have each come along without their consent. Hetty, of course, will always be my co-conspirator. I want to say something about Hetty. You didn't see this part. Without your strength and patience, I couldn't have become the man I am. Not just the Jewish man, but the grown-up man. I know these years have not been always smooth, but your willingness to reach outside your boundaries has made my life wonderful. Thank you. Jesse and Ellis, what a Rubik's Cube it must be to have a Ger as a father, making all those colors line up. Mom and I can't tell you how proud we are of you, and I will hold your love in my heart forever. But for my father, this was a hard journey, and one he was never comfortable with. For my mom and my sisters, it was easier, and they have always been respectful. They all have borne some of the burden of my selfish choice, and I love them for that. Counterbalancing my moment in Lincoln Square have been years of moments where I wondered what I did and why. Every Christmas, I remember standing with my father and mother and sisters in church at midnight and singing hymns that still move me with their power. I actually like women's voices in everything we do. But when I look at our sons and feel how proud they make me despite what an inadequate Jewish father I can be, I have no regrets, just praise for my family. My experience is unique, and I believe that all conversion must be unique, so I don't have any roadmaps. I have learned that between atheism and orthodoxy are acres of fulfilling and stimulating belief, and I am not qualified to judge any of it. I debated the value of the Dvar Torah, not my strong suit, but I did want to understand how my choice fit into our history. I turned for help to a relative. Rabbi Fink, I want to reassure you that it was someone from Hetty's side. Last Shabbat, we read Parshat Kitzavo. Hashem says, "You shall rejoice with all the goodness that Hashem your God has given you and your household, you and the Levite and the proselyte who is in your midst." The Stone Edition does not call out the word proselyte in particular, but glosses with a reference to the poor and the helpless. This bothered me. In the Chumash, the ger is sometimes translated as stranger, sometimes as sojourner. I know that a ger is a Jew, but we are different because we have a special name, and we know how important names are. So with the help of my relative, I learned that when Avram is praised, he's praised as a ger. The Medrash even teaches that Avram, Yitzhak, and Yaakov were all actively converting. Bereshit 12:5 tells that Avram took to his homeland all the souls he had created. What does that mean, souls that he created? Rashi comments that these souls are the people he had converted, he the men and Sarah the women. And if a ger really is a Jew, then what are we to make this in the Gemara, Kedushin 70b? Converts are difficult for Israel. We are even likened to warts. Tosfos offer three opinions. The Aritzal's approach is that because the Torah recites over 30 times that we are supposed to be sure we don't cause pain to the ger, this makes it hard on Israel. Rabbi Avraham the ger, his real name, teaches that gerim are difficult because they stick to the rules. Another very intriguing approach is that because gerim are souls that Hashem wants to come to Eretz Israel, it could only happen if they are converted by Israel going into exile to bring them home. That means if Hashem hadn't wanted the gerim, the exile itself would not have happened. Maybe I am one of the souls Hashem needed in Israel, and he had to go track me down. Mission accomplished, honey. So the jury is still out after 5,000 years about just where the ger fits and how we really think of them, me. So how does this son of a lay preacher become an observant Jew? I don't know, even after 30 years. Ironically, my father might have set the stage himself. He humanized a Christian God. I am doubtful of infallibility in general, which can be a hurdle as a Jew. I am puzzled by the devotion many of my family have to their various rebbeim, and yet I am jealous of the peace of mind that their devotion brings. Friends ask me what the hardest thing is about converting. Well, it wasn't the Beit Din. It wasn't the bloodletting. For those of you wondering, and you know who you are, I was circumcised on the 8th day for medical reasons. You can't make this stuff up. The hardest thing is not sharing food. But I also discovered that one of my brothers-in-law won't eat meat at our house. And when we have our Gold family barbecues, we have to buy a new grill so everyone can eat. When I first learned this, it hit me that even within a religion, there are dormant fault lines. And here is one more story. My mom says that her mother, whose last name was Miller, who married an Andre, my middle name, and who was, as far as anyone knows, a devout Christian, said on her deathbed, "Remember, I am Jewish." What? You don't think you might have mentioned a little thing like that a few years ago? Did I go to all this trouble for nothing? We have never proved or disproved her. I have no idea what to make of any of these stories. I guess they are all just stories mixed in with some special moments and a lot of forgiveness that support me today. And if you will bear with me, in conclusion, it is also true that I have found familiar echoes of my childhood in my life today. I remember my dad standing in the back of the sanctuary to give the benediction. And it went like this. May God bless you and keep you. May he shine his face upon you and bring you peace. That sounds familiar. So maybe I come from a long line of converts, but don't we all? This year, may all our moments be for the good. Shana Tova.